delay over thesis, although it has been finished for quite some time. And so she'll be talking and presenting a seminar on some of the aspects of that she has been doing in her PhD. It was a PhD on pearl millet and investigating traits involved in the adaptation to drought of pearl millet. She is focused on especially on the population, and that has followed similar type of work that has been done a few years ago by Jana Kodorova using another population of pearl millet. And then at the end of the seminar, she'll be also talking about a bit of the work that she has been doing on similar traits in sorghum. So, well, without further delay.
Okay, thank you so much. So, good afternoon, one and all. And so, my research topic is dissection of physiological traits involved in terminal drought tolerance and QTL mapping studies in pearl millet. Pearl millet is a cross-pollinated monocot species belonging to the family of Poaceae, having a diploid genome of 2n is equal to 14. Pearl millet is an important cereal grain and fodder crop in the driest areas of Asia and Africa. And even though pearl millet is one of the drought tolerant, but the post-flowering water stress is one of the common phenomena affecting its yield. So there are a lot of research related to the yield, but here we emphasize on the physiological mechanisms related to the yield. So our main objectives are characterization of the parents of the mapping population for the vegetative biomass and yield components at different levels of terminal stress treatment, and to assess the role of terminal drought tolerance QTL in the pattern of grain filling using parental lines and their near isogenic lines. And one more objective is QTL mapping for water use traits in the F7 RAL population of the cross ICMB 841 cross 863. So coming to the first objective, that is characterization of the parental line, we have taken 4 parents of the mapping population, which are PRLT, H77, ICMB 841 and 863. Each plant we have maintained 5 replications, and at the stage of booting, all the pots were saturated with water, drained, and then covered with polythene sheets just to cease the soil evaporation. And then plants are maintained under well-watered conditions till flowering. So as soon as the flowering is finished, we have maintained 1 well-watered and 4 different water stress treatments. And 4 different water stress treatments include 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0.2 FTSW, which is nothing but 50%, 40%, 30 and 20% of the available soil water. So these pots are weighed every day to maintain these desired water stress treatments and also to measure the transpiration of the plants. And till maturity we have continued these measurements, transpiration measurements and maintaining of the treatment. So as soon as at maturity we harvest the plants and dry it in the oven for having the vegetative biomass and yield components. So outcome of these experiments look like this. Here we have x-axis we have different water stress treatments, and on y-axis we have stored biomass. This blue bar indicates the tolerant PRLT and the green indicates the sensitive H77. We can see that the same alphabet indicates that these treatments are similar, and the different alphabet indicate that these treatments are different from these. So here we can see that this tolerant PRLT has significantly higher biomass under water stress conditions, that is 0.3 treatment. And when it comes to the total grain weight, here also we can see the treatments on x-axis, where this well-watered and 0.5 treatment they are similar, but there is significant treatment different from 0.3, 0.4, 3 and 2, they are entirely different. So here we can see that the sensitive H77 has significantly higher yield under well-watered conditions. But under water stress, extreme water stress treatments, we can see that this PRLT tolerant had significantly higher grain weight. So when it comes to the grain number, we can see that the treatment effect has started from 0.4. 3 also we can see, and this 2 is entirely different treatment effect. Here we can see that the sensitive parent has significantly higher grain number, and But under water stress, it has suffered a lot. It has drastically reduced its grain number under severe water stress treatment. When it comes to the 100 grain weight, we can see that these are the different treatments, and this point, so there is no treatment effect till 0.3, and we can, this 100 grain weight, which is nothing but grain filling, this tolerant PRLT has significantly higher grain weight till 0.3 FTSW treatment. So one thing we can see is this tolerant has able to maintain higher grain weight, and its grain number is relatively constant. It has not suffered much. So maybe this is the reason for which it is able to contribute higher yield under severe water stress conditions. So we have done similar experiment. So these are the other two lines of the parental population, mapping population. Here we can see the treatments on the x-axis and biomass on y-axis. So here also we can see that well-watered and 0.5 treatment is similar, but this 0.4, 0.3, and they are different from these two, and this treatment is entirely different from all these. And we can see this tolerant 863 has significantly higher biomass under severe water stress treatments. And when it comes to the total grain weight also, here we can see this tolerant 863B has significantly higher grain yield under well water and 0.4 and 0.3 water stress treatments. When it comes to the grain number also, this tolerant 863 has significantly higher under 0.3 FTSW, which is a severe water stress treatment. And when it comes to the 100 grain weight, which is grain filling, tolerant 863B has significantly higher grain weight under well-watered 0.5 and 0.4 treatment also. But under 0.3, we couldn't see any significance. But what we can see is the decrease in 100 grain weight is very gradual. So this is the reason it is able to maintain its 100 grain weight higher and having higher grain number also under severe water stress treatments. So we could have a conclusion that retention of the grain number and ability to maintain that sustained grain filling resulted in higher yield of the tolerant parents under post-flowering water stress conditions. So as we have seen that these tolerance parents have contributed much to the grain filling. So we have taken the introgression lines having this tolerant QTL from PRLT and on the background of sensitive H77. So to see the pattern of grain filling, we have taken this introgression lines. And the experiment was conducted in a very similar fashion to the previous experiment, but here we have maintained only two treatments. One is well watered and the other is water stress treatment. But we have only one treatment, that is 0.3 FTSW, because this is the point where we could see the significant genotypic differences. And here until flowering, there is no treatment, and the treatment is applied only after flowering. But here we have maintained three sets of plants, one well-watered and water stress plants, and they are harvested for every 10 days after flowering, 20 days and 30 days after flowering, to see the pattern of grain filling during their grain filling period. So our aim is to see the pattern of grain filling, and the outcome of the experiment looks like this. Here we have the genotypes on x-axis and biomass, and each bar indicates the biomass yield at 10 days after flowering, 20 days after flowering, and 30 days after flowering. The 30 days is nothing but H maturity. So these two are the introgression lines having a drought QTL from tolerant parent and on the background of this sensitive H77 parent. So here we can see that there is no increase in biomass after flowering in tolerant parent PRLT, but we could see there is a huge increase in biomass of the sensitive parent. This is due to it has a huge tillers which are produced during the grain filling period. This is all under well-watered conditions. But under water stress, we can see that there is no growth of, there is no increase in biomass of any genotype. And one more thing is we can see that the sensitive H77 has suffered a lot because this tillers are, tiller growth is very much reduced under the water stress treatment. So when it comes to the total grain weight, Here also we can see these are the introgression lines. These introgression lines are very nearer to the tolerant parent in its grain yield under well watered, and H70 sensitive H77 has significantly higher yield under well watered. Then this is very similar to our previous experiment also, and but under water stress we can see these introgression lines and PRLT had significantly higher yield than the sensitive H77 current, and we can see how this QTL is playing a role in the terminal drought tolerance, as these are very similar, behaving very similar to the PRLT parent. So when it comes to the 100 grain weight, 100 grain weight is nothing but we can proxy for a grain filling. We can see these are under well watered conditions. These two are the introgression lines. They look intermediate between these two parental lines, and just within 20 days after the grain filling period, they could attain their maximum 100 grain weight. But under water stress conditions, we can see that these introgression lines are very similar to the tolerant parent and in their 100 grain weight, and there is no increase in 100 grain weight of the sensitive H77 parent. So we can see how these introgression lines having drought QTL are playing a role in the terminal drought tolerance under water stress conditions. They are playing a role in the grain filling under water stress conditions. So when it comes to the grain number, we can see these are the introgression lines. In PRLT, there is no increase in grain number after flowering, but in H77, we can see increase in grain number because there are so many tillers produced during the grain filling period, which cause increase in grain flowering and then grain number. So these when it comes to the water stress conditions, none of the genotype has any significant grain number. But one thing we can see is this H77 has suffered a lot in its grain number when compared to the other genotypes, whereas this PRLT has relatively very less loss of grain number under water stress. So we could conclude something like introgression lines provide an evidence that the terminal drought tolerance QTL has a role to play in maintaining the number of the seeds and also grain filling under post-flowering water stress conditions. So actually, all the grain filling and grain setting under water stress, they are highly related to the water use under well-watered conditions. As we have seen in another cross of pearl millet, that is H77 cross PRLT, that water saving traits under well-watered conditions, they co-map with the terminal drought tolerance. So we want to do the similar mapping studies in another cross, that is ICMB 841, 863. So before going for direct mapping, we have a short experiment like this. These two are the parental lines of the mapping population. When they are just exposed to the natural conditions, we can see that this tolerant parent has 30% higher shoot dry weight, biomass has 30% higher leaf area, and even 30% higher low transpiration under low VPD, which is nothing but morning times of the day. But when it comes to the high VPD transpiration, that is afternoon times of the day, it has just 13% transpiration. And when it comes to the loss transpiration per unit leaf area, it is very much lower than the sensitive parent. So we have an understanding that this genotype is able to restrict the loss of water under high VPD times of the day, enabling us to understand that it is storing this water in the soil and using for later grain filling period. So we want to actually map the regions associated with these traits, and we started phenotyping part. So the phenotyping we have 101 rows. They are we have maintained 5 replications of each line. They are just grown under natural conditions, and sowing was done in a staggered way because just for easy handling of the replications, and phenotyping was done just before booting, once the vegetative growth is completed, and there were about 21 days old plants. So one day before the experiment, we used to saturate the pots and drain the pots and cover with plastic sheets and beads to cease the soil evaporation, and then we will make it ready for next day's experiment. So the next day, the pots are weighed thrice during the day. One, that is during 7:15 morning, 10 o'clock and again 2:15 to measure the transpiration between the low VPD times, that is 7 to 10, and again under high VPD, which gives from 10 to 2 o'clock. So, and pots are taken care that all the plants are under well-watered condition. There is no run of water, or they don't suffer from water loss. Here we measure only the transpiration at different VPD points of the day. And similarly, the transpiration was measured for 2 days, and at the end of the second day, plants are harvested, and leaf area was measured immediately, and then they are dried. All the shoot is dried for taking the biomass. We have harvested the roots also, and taken the dry matter of the roots. The genotypic data is already available. We have taken the genotypic data, and the linkage map consists of 358 markers distributed across 7 linkage groups. Genotyping data and phenotyping data are linked to LabQTL software to find out the QTLs using a composite interval mapping approach. So we have done this experiment twice, that is 2010 and also in 2011. Actually, we can see the many of the traits having higher phenotypic variation, they are falling on LG6. That is shoot weight having 17%, which is the highest here, and LOD5 is falling on LG6, and leaf area having 28% phenotypic variation, LOD8 is also falling on LG6, and these QTLs are consistently observed during the 2 years. For leaf dry weight also, we can see 27% phenotypic variation, LOD8 falling on LG6, and they are observed consistently in both the years. When it comes to the transpiration traits also, we can see that low VPD transpiration has 2 QTLs, and high VPD is influenced by many QTLs, indicating how complex this high VPD transpiration trait is. And one more thing, here also we can see that phenotypic variation of higher phenotypic variation, 24% LOD6 is falling on LG6. Similar for high VPD transpiration also, it is falling on LG6. And all the alleles are favored from 863B parent, which is indicated by the positive sign of these additive effects. And whereas we can see that, but the transpiration is favored by the 863 tolerant parent, but transpiration rate is favored by the alleles of the sensitive parent, which indicated by negative sign of these alleles, the additive effects. So we can see that there are clusters of traits at the lower end of this LG6. So a network of genes around these alleles may be responsible for its higher leaf area, shoot weight, and transpiration of the tolerant parent. One more thing what we can see here is the alleles associated with the transpiration, that is loss of water, are favored by 863, but they are not favored for transpiration rate, which is nothing but they restrict the loss of water from unit leaf area. So indicating that these alleles might be responsible for controlled loss of water under high VPD conditions and save the water in the soil, which is used for later grain filling periods. And these are the regions which are getting co-mapped with the Panicle Harvest Index QTL reported by Bidinger et al. In 2007. So we have an assumption that maybe these conservation mechanisms are responsible for higher yield under water stress conditions. So, and we have some of the cluster of traits around LG2 also. They are mapped towards the lower end of the terminal drought tolerance QTL, which was reported previously. And not only the QTL mapping, we have conducted the interaction studies using GMM approach. So here we can see this solid arrow indicates the allele from 863 and the dotted arrow indicates the allele from ICMB 841. When this LG2 interacts with LG6, there is an enhancement of 27% increase in the root dry weight. And similarly, we could see increase in the biomass from the 863 and 2 alleles of LG4 and LG7. And we can see one more thing, that transpiration allele of LG6, when interacts with the specific leaf weight, there is a reduction in the transpiration, high VPD transpiration. indicating that maybe the specific leaf weight is responsible for lowering the transpiration under high VPD. And similarly, we can see another two more um, indicating that there is a lowering of high VPD transpiration. So what we could conclude from this experiment is like there are number of loci around that LG6 group leading to increased transpiration and biomass. Transpiration was favored by the alleles of tolerant 863, but they are not favored for the transpiration per unit leaf area, indicating that it has a capacity to restrict the transpiration under high VPD, therefore saving the water in the soil and using for later grain filling. And as we have discussed before, that this tolerant parent has a capacity to restrict, and whereas there is this sensitive is not able to restrict under high VPD, indicating that maybe this uncontrolled loss of water during high VPD may be related due to the aquaporin mediated water transport. So as we want to see the molecular relations with the aquaporins and these loss of water, as the sorghum genome has been sequenced and we have access to the genes related to the aquaporins, we have started with these VPD similar experiments in sorghum lines. We have taken 4 sorghum lines. They were grown in sand under glasshouse conditions for a period of 20 days, and they were acclimatized in the growth chamber one day before the experiment. We have taken 2 growth chambers. One is with low VPD and another with increasing ladder, which has still 4 kilopascals. And the pots are measured every hour to see the transpiration of the plants. And at the end of the day, the root samples are harvested from low VPD and also under high VPD. They are immediately placed in liquid nitrogen and stored in -80 to continue the expression studies. So here these are the lines. This is 393 sorghum line, which has we can say uncontrolled loss of water during high VPD. Whereas this is the 108 line, which could restrict the transpiration. There is controlled loss of water under high VPD also. And similarly, the other line also we can see 294, which has uncontrolled, there is a huge transpiration, unrestricted transpiration, whereas the other could have controlled loss of water under high VPD condition. This is the VPD and this is the transpiration per unit leaf area. So for this we have designed to see the molecular relations. We have seen the designed primers for the aquaporins. We have extracted RNA from the samples and quantified through real-time PCR. Here these are the different PIP isoforms which we have used for quantification, and this is the relative fold expression. We can see the genotype 393, which has uncontrolled loss of water. It has higher amount of mRNA transcripts of these PIP1 and 2 isoforms. And the similar tendency we can see with another 2 lines of sorghum, that is 294, which has unrestricted loss of water. Those genotypes have higher amount of mRNA transcripts of PIP1 and 2. So not only the RNA part, but we want to see the protein part also. And we have taken many isoforms like 2, 1, 2, 5 and 1, 2. But we could get some interesting results with the 2,6 isoform in the roots of 393 and 108 lines of sorghum. Here we have taken 2 biological replications of each line under control and also under high VPD. We can see that under high VPD there is a huge amount of protein, aquaporin proteins. And when we measure the band intensity, we can see this is the band intensity. Under high VPD there is a huge amount of protein of this genotype having unrestricted loss of water than the other one. And even under control we can see this genotype has higher amount of protein than the other one. But when we normalize this control versus high VPD, we don't have any such differences. But natively we can see this genotype having uncontrolled loss of water has higher amount of protein. And we can see with the other 2 lines, there are 294 and 14 lines. These are also 2 biological replications of each line under control and also under high VPD. So we can see that under high VPD there is a huge amount of this 2,6 protein, and we can see that this is the band intensity. We can see under high VPD, this genotype having unrestricted loss of water has huge amount of protein than the other genotype, that is 145. Even under control, we can see it has very less, but it has expressed into a very huge amount under high VPD. So here, when we normalize this control and versus high VPD also, we can see there is a huge amount of protein in this line under high VPD conditions. So this indicates that the genotypes having unrestricted transpiration, they have huge amount of transcripts of these PIP isoforms and higher protein with the PIP26 isoform under high VPD conditions. So I would like to acknowledge my supervisor, Dr. Vincent Vades, and my co-supervisor, City Hash, and all our colleagues, scientific, administrative, and supporting staff who helped us in working from the crop physiology, breeding, bioinformatics, genetic transformation, virology, applied genomics, and Hannah and Chauman, who helped us in working with the RNA and the protein part. We all would like to acknowledge LSU, JNTU, library, CSR, and my family, who helped us in pursuing this research. So these are some of my articles and conferences. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. It's very nice piece of work and nicely presented. So just for my knowledge, this tolerant parent, pearl millet, PRLT,
Yeah.
this was earlier also used in some of the studies for mapping drought tolerance.
Yeah.
So your results are a bit different than those results. What is the difference?
Actually, we have seen different treatments and how the grain filling is affecting in that genotype. Previously, there were mapping studies conducted on that, like what are the water saving traits. Here we have seen how it is suffering under post-flowering conditions. So what is that grain number or which yield component is severely affected, at what level of the threshold points of water levels. 0.3% means it is nothing but very high severe drought stress.
And my question is, means earlier they had studied some different traits, now you have studied some different traits.
They have, yeah.
Okay.
They have studied transpiration traits,
Okay.
mostly. What is that? PRLT has a lower transpiration rate. Assessing that similarly it could save water under well-watered conditions.
But that was
So
also
that is
post-flowering.
That is also post-flowering.
So this QTL is different than that.
That is just under well-watered conditions. That is nothing related to post-flowering, but it is just under well-watered conditions. How it is behaving, like higher segregation.
QTL
Yeah.
used to sit very nicely on linkage group 4.
4, no.
Root biomass.
Root dry weight, it is on LG2 and LG7.
But something came on LG4. We were pretty excited about that. What was that?
Because what it is means tillering is overlapping with the high VPD transpiration rate.
Mm-hmm.
So which we came to know maybe this tillering genotype has higher transpiration rate under high VPD.
So what we have presently on LG4? Anything which is...
LG4 is tiller number I have.
Uh-huh.
And
Nothing related to shoot or root biomass?
no.
But as far as I remember, we had something, and Tom was also pretty excited about that. So is it departure from our previous
No,
findings?
that is
what
not on
exactly?
LG2 we have that root dry weight QTL.
Uh-huh.
That is LG2 where
Oh.
we have the root dry weight QTL,
Okay.
which is attached to the lower end of the terminal drought tolerance QTL.
Mhm.
And we have one more link with this is there is a QTL and biomass which at the same time co-mapping with the root dry weight. These two are the IPS markers.
The
Developed by Rajaram.
two story was very clear, you know. I mean, we were kind of pretty convinced about the story from linkage group 2, but we had something on linkage group 4 as well, as far as I remember. Are we missing something out here, or maybe I'm missing something out?
No, I think that we don't have anything on
Okay.
4.
Okay. And my last comment would be on the timings at which, you know, the readings are taken. My understanding is The highest temperature which is recorded in a day's time is around 2:30 p.m. Whereas you are recording at 2:15, I think.
Yeah, I have taken
And
till
so,
AM.
yeah.
AM, sorry.
Yeah, no, that I understand. Yeah, I did correction myself. In morning also, lowest temperatures are reached around 5:30 in the morning. You know, the lowest temperatures would be around 5:30, and highest temperatures would be around 2:30 in the afternoon. So I think it will be good to slightly tweak the timings around which the readings are taken. But I understand 5:30 in the morning is very difficult for somebody to come and take measurements. Yeah, but 2:30, of course, can be addressed.
So there were two interrogation lines that were used.
Yeah.
So did they have same QTLs?
Yeah, they have
How
the,
many how many?
they
did
have
it
the same drought tolerance QTL, terminal drought tolerance.
How
Q-
many?
How
Is it
many?
one or two or
One only. LG2 we have a
single QTL?
Single
So what was
QTL.
the percentage of variation explained earlier with respect to this QTL?
There is some 17 to 23 for the panicle harvest index they have shown. In the Bidinger 2007 they have shown that one.
So how about the yield?
For the yield and panicle harvest index, there is a range of that.
Okay. So with respect to 863B,
Yeah.
so is it having the same QTLs as reported in PRLT or
Actually, we don't have any introgression lines with that, but it has the terminal drought tolerance QTL even on that line also.
okay? Are there any new QTLs? Did you find
On
other
this,
than that? What was found in PRLT?
other QTLs
You
means
did
these.
you did the QTL mapping using the real population of 863B.
Yeah.
Yes. So with respect to that, how many QTLs did you find?
How many means regarding transpiration we could find some 10 to 15 QTLs.
Okay. So,
So-
what this one is there any similarity or are they deviating from what was found?
Mainly, we are concentrated on the transpiration traits
Okay.
first thing, and
So is there any difference there?
so what we got is these transpiration traits they are co-mapping with the panicle harvest index QTLs which were reported by Bidinger.
So,
So
that
we
was
can-
not assessed earlier.
This was not, which one? This
Transpiration.
transpiration was not assessed earlier.
Okay,
This is
okay.
the new one. So we can say this transpiration is related to the yield of the yield of the population.
Can I ask a little question about isoforms? Can you say a little bit more about the PIP isoforms? Can you explain them a little bit? There's all of these different isoforms, you know. What are they?
Actually, these are the different aquaporins have plasma membrane intrinsic proteins, tonoplast intrinsic proteins, and zips and sips and all. There are many isoforms. But here we have taken the PIP isoforms, and so these are the different genes of aquaporins. So we want to see how their transcripts are related under high VPD conditions.
Can I go? Yeah. Aparna, just basic question. What was the heritability of those traits individually in the seasons?
Heritability was a medium in few traits like transpiration. It is around 0.6 range.
So,
So
everything around
everything above 0.6, but only root trait where we have 0.5, and remaining everything is above 0.5.
Well, a simple other suggestion was looking at your QTL mapping results. It will be great if you start look at the adjusted additive effects, not only the pure additive effects. The adjusted additive effects would be balance for your heritability. So they will actually reduce the bias of overwhelmingly saying your contribution towards 20-25%. They will be far more realistic. It's there in your QTL output. It's just bottom of the table. You have to look at that. The other one was your interaction effects. It will also be good to look at the interaction outputs in terms of QTL by QTL interaction outputs. And the other graph that you show, and actually if you are able to pick up similar kinds of interaction which are statistically significant, looking at your partial correlations. That is what is required for breeding program, because that will drive the integration of the QTLs in one or the other parent. Congratulations, that was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
This is just to follow up on what Santosh has just said. Can you just go back to that QTL map that you showed?
This
No, back one more. Yeah. So somewhere, I think in your presentation, you said that some of the alleles are coming from 841
Yeah, this
as
is,
well.
this
But if you
one.
look into the additive effects, they're very weak, pretty weak additive effects. So
Because
I'm not, no, so listen to me. So, maybe we need to validate this data. Maybe we need to, generate more robust
Actually-
data before we conclude that something from 841B is contributing for this particular trait. So
this is why it is low. I can say one reason is this is transpiration rate per unit leaf area per hour per centimeter square. It is not per the day or something. So maybe that is the reason. If we calculate per the day, at
No,
least
my point here is before we declare that it is coming from 841, we have to make sure that additive effects are really strong enough. It's pretty weak additive effect. So maybe from breeding perspective, it may not have much significance. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
I was emphasizing that let's look at it, be realistic on what's the individual contribution of individual QTL, phenotypic contribution.
And you'll get a reasonably good population very soon. I can assure you that.
Well, I was just umming and ahhing because I've come across this problem before of having a limited population size, and you need more data, and so what we did, we had a population at about F12 or something, and we needed more individuals, and so we went back to some early generations of that population and took the heterozygotes, just crossed from the early generations to put more individuals into the population. So it just depends if you have that material available that you can go back to.
Maybe I can answer this. We can go back, but then we'll not have much advantage because the F2 population of this cross had just about 180 individuals. 180 individuals. So I'm not sure how much difference that will make too. And this population is, I tell you to be very frank, biased population because in F2 we had selective mortality of some other individuals. So from 180 odd individuals, we were reduced to 148. And from 148, we were reduced to just 106. And I see Aparna has used just 101 individuals. Yeah. So definitely it's a constrained population. Yeah. Regenerating, yeah.
How did you work out the grain number per panicle?
grain number. We have calculated 100 grain weight we will calculate. 100 grains have so much of weight.
Okay.
So based
using
on the
test
yield,
weight.
yeah.
Using the test weight.
Yeah.
Okay. If there is no seed setting, it would create a problem, I feel. Seed setting.
There is no seed setting. But we don't have that problem.
In some of the spikelets, if it is not setting the seed, the way you are calculating may lead to wrong number, I feel. If it is perfect seed setting, so what you calculate is right based on test weight.
Well, I can supplement. See, you are drawing weight as a proxy for seed number. So obviously when the seed size is reduced or seeds are shriveled, then within that particular given weight, you'll have more number of seeds.
Yeah,
So-
that missing number, say when there is no seed at all. So you are talking about shriveled, that is compensated in the test weight. But if there is no seed set, because you are putting stress, so there is also possibility of no seed set also.
So it will be compensated somewhere, right? If there is no seed set, the biomass has to get distributed.
Grain number, I am.
Yeah, I'm also talking of grain number.
Well, just I interpret. She has picked up a threshold, 0.3, which was basically the threshold where she has ensured that there is enough seed set. Below that, both the parents were like crashing. So we have a threshold which was picked up deliberately to make sure both parents have seeds in.
And even within that threshold, you know, I mean, you have reasonably good estimation, you know, because she's drawing her, lot from different levels of stress. And she knows at that particular level of stress, what is the given number of seed, what is its seed weight. So I think it's a fairly accurate estimation.
This is just out of my interest. Related to expression studies, why it was like root aquaporins we concentrated? Why not like other part of like
Leaf. Actually, we have done with leaf also, but it is, I have to still estimate the leaf part and all. I didn't present it, it is only that.
Okay.
But root, we are very clear about that. So I have presented all the root things.
Okay. And how here it was concluded? Like one of the primers was responding for.
It's like, what is that is, the genotypes which have uncontrolled, they have more amount of transcripts.
Yeah. But like how we are linking root aquaporins?
Root aquaporins. So these root aquaporins, they might be responsible for this uncontrolled loss of water.
Okay.
So where I can show you this line. This is the line which has uncontrolled loss of water. It's not restricting. So because of, we can see these transcripts are also high. So maybe this aquaporin is a passive movement of water. So this may be responsible for that uncontrolled loss of water when there is high VPD, where a high temperature. So it is just these transcripts are forming their protein and they'll just lose their water.
Plants. You know, those tubes where the water sort of travels in the plant. There are some plants that have that phenotype where the hydraulic is somehow restricted, and those that are unrestricted, where the hydraulic is apparently good, and the water flow freely, and if the evaporative demand is high, the water flow follows, right? So what Aparna didn't have sort of the time to explain, because there is a lot of background information behind, is that the hypothesis we have at the moment is that we've got an hydraulic limitation in the roots. And the water penetrates in the root either passively through what we call the apoplast, so it basically travels between the cell walls, so not inside the cell, but between the cell walls, or it travels through the cells and then has to cross the membranes through proteins, aquaporins. They are in charge of channeling the water. And so that's why the aquaporin story came in.
You have this population of the cereals for this segregating for this drought tolerance QTL, the parents you have used. The lines which are having this QTL, suppose those lines, you use them as parents now, and you cross and develop hybrids. So there is a control hybrid which is normal parent, which is not having introgressed QTLs. And then these introgressed lines which were used as parents, and you are developing improved hybrids. And you take these hybrids to some drought-prone environment. So what do you expect? These new hybrids will be better than your control hybrid, and in what terms?
We can see that according to our other, one thing is we have to check the VPD conditions, how they are behaving under that drought-prone areas. Sometimes when the soil is very loose and when the soil is not able to store any water, these water conservation mechanisms may not be useful for the plant.
So suppose the same conditions exist there also in that ecology, 0.4, 0.6. So what do you expect between differences between normal hybrid and these hybrids which will be having your introgressed QTL? What differences you will expect?
So the hybrids will behave just like the parent. If the parents having higher yield and all, they will also have.
Due to which factors? What do you have found?
They are almost nearer to the line. If we see the two introgression lines, one line is very nearer to the parental line, whereas the other line is not there. So maybe because of the background effect also we can say. Suppose we can see this line is very similar to this introgression line is very similar to this parental line. So we can say they're just the same. But whereas this is little different because of the background effect.
So it's time to give a big clap to Aparna. I think she gave a good seminar. And she had a lot of questions, which is, a proxy for, the quality of the work. So thank you, Aparna.
Thank you.
And thank you all.